this would be treated by me if it were to trade below it, the same way I outlined it for euro. I would treat it as a inversion fair value gap. And I just did the wrong color. I had it right the first time. I like to use this color for inversions. That way, going forward, if you ever see it on my chart, it doesn't mean I'm always doing it correctly, because sometimes, like I just did it here, just did it wrong color. And especially if I'm doing a trade live and I'm trying to maintain my focus on what you're probably going to ask me, or would ask me while I was doing the trade. And what I'm thinking as it's happening, my eyes go into these levels while I'm managing a trade. These are real trades. There's real risk here. These things have to be thought about at the time. And if I'm trading with a 15-second chart, that's a whole lot of identifying, calculating, weighing out whether this should happen, then thinking about what you're asking if you were standing next to me, or what you're going to probably ask me after I share the video of the execution. Plus, managing the entire trade, and also coming up with a way of responding and highlighting and teaching while the trade's going on. I'm sorry, but that's just not easy to do. Okay, so sometimes I'll do the color wrong, but inversion fair value gaps, I like to keep this color scheme for it. Any fair value gap that I shade in a shade of like either green or blue, I'm treating it as something that would be considered discount for the purposes of maybe going higher. I'm treating it as it should act as support. Anything in a pink or red hue, that's usually something I would expect it to treat it as a resistance or some selling. Once it gets there, it should be met with some kind of a turn or maybe consolidate, but fail to go higher. And when it's orange like this, okay, that to me is signifying to you, and this is what I originally thought out when I first started teaching the inversion fair value gaps. This would be otherwise expected to treat it like this, like it did here. It went down to it, touched it, and rallied. That's reasonable. But because we're bearish on the pound dollar and we're bullish on the dollar, we would expect to see this trade through it and fail. Okay, so understanding the narrative, then you can anticipate seeing PD arrays that would in otherwise instances that would be, like as I mentioned before, if the dollar was bearish, trading back down to this level here would be considered a bullish scenario for pound dollar. But because I'm outlining, and I started the analysis off with, I believe that ultimately we're going to go higher on the dollar index, trading back down here anyway, when we've already used it, not that it's a fresh zone, because it's not that, it's not supply and demand zone. I want to see it fail. I would expect it to trade through it. Now, if it does that, I would expect it to go back up, touch the low, respect the midpoint of it, not trade the entire range and touch the top of it. But if it does that and it starts to move lower, then I'm confident that we're going to blow below this low here,